Right, this is going to be a short little video about concussion and player welfare in sport. Um, at the moment, the NHL and the NFL are going through a lawsuit to do with player welfare and concussions in sport, and how they, as sports, have not looked after the welfare of current and ex players going back 40, 50 plus years to present day. And there's this has been going on now for about nearly 10 years, and as an ice hockey fan, um, it's more to do with, for me, there's more than just the CTE and Gary Betchman, the commissioner, basically denying that it exists. It's it's not that the players get concussed, because or injured or anything like that. That's not the issue. It's how they are rushed back after getting bashed around, concussed, knocked out, physical like breaks in the bone, dislocations, muscular injuries, and it doesn't matter. Sport, it's not just in those sports, in most sport, injured player, injured sportsman or woman has an injury, could be a concussion, could be muscular strain, it could be anything, but they're rushed back really quick because the sponsors and the owners and the investors and the TV people obviously have a lot of money at stake, and we the fans obviously want to see them compete at a high level and watch our teams, or the individual sports like Andy Murray playing tennis. He's had to pull out of so many tournaments this year because of injured hip, and he struggled at Wimbledon. He struggled at Queens. It was embarrassing to watch really because he wasn't at his best. And if that's the best Brit we can put out in the men's game, like the guy was playing on one leg, he's got to have a future after sport. And if he's a cripple, it's not great legacy to leave. But on the player welfare side, like we as fans and as investors in the sport and people who have an interest in it, if like now I'm going to link this into my previous video. There's an ice hockey player played for Nashville called Mike Ribeiro. Now over in this country in the UK, we don't really get a lot of news on the ice hockey over there. It's not really. There is a popular fan base here, but it's not as popular as other North American sports such as basketball and American football in viewership. However, he was forced to retire for personal issues, which are known to be substance abuse, which is a very vague term because that can mean one of three things: alcohol, prescription medication, or illegal drugs. Um, he's had apparently previous issues with prescription medication and alcohol. He's a very turbulent character away from the game. In his private life, he's had some legal troubles, and he's barely in his 30s. He's still reasonably young. Yeah, I think he's only, but he might even be the same age as me, like late 20s. But he's a reasonably young lad. I mean, some ice hockey players like Jaromir Jagr's 45. He still wants to play, so it's not as if he's retired because of injury. It's clearly something far more sinister than that. Uh, he's physically still capable. It's the off away from the sports side of things. It's the personal side, and that's where the sports across the board need to look after their current and ex players' welfare and well-being, and help towards their medical costs and and health insurance costs, especially in America, where health insurance is obviously, you don't have state funded healthcare as much. It's more insurance based, and if we don't do something about like allowing the players to recover from their injuries, having regular independent doctors' assessments, um, like if they are concussed, give them a minimum. I would say a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks away from training, away from the sport. Going to the doctor like once every couple of days, having regular appointments, regular cognitive tests, like even they have to have CT scans, because after Bob Probert died, and he was a enforcer, he could drop the gloves, and he had a similar problem with substance abuse, especially illegal drugs and alcohol. He died 6 years ago, and they looked at his brain, and he had so many blows to the head. He also had so many physical injuries as well. He was addicted to painkillers, and he was like 45, 46, and he had the brain of like a 70, 80-year-old with Alzheimer's who was dying. Yeah, he died of a heart attack, but that's irrelevant. Chris Benoit, the wrestler who killed his family and then himself. Again, they did an autopsy to see if he was under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Again, had issues with alcohol and prescription medication, and again had the brain of Alzheimer's patient in their 80s, or dementia patient, or Parkinson's patient. Like the cognitive function, so many blows to the head had led to CTE. And it's not just a definite science, and not everyone who gets a concussion is going to have brain damage. Not at all. It just increases your likelihood of having brain damage. And then you get all these symptoms. And I've had a few blows to the head myself, being a bit of a wally in my time. So it's, why are the leagues denying this is happening? They should set aside a fund. Each team should set aside a fund, and I don't know why that they are pressured in bringing back people too quick, especially from head injuries, and it worries me. And I'm not saying that like sportsmen aren't going to get concussed, or ain't going to break an arm, or ain't going to like rip a muscle, or have a hernia, or just get general wear and tear. Injuries will happen. Time off from the game for rest will happen. It's how we look after them, because otherwise you're going to have another Paul Gascoigne in your hands, or another Joey Barton with he's a colourful character because he's not been looked after, and it's not good enough. And so we as the fans have also got to make our voices heard on this, because one day we will have kids and they might want to take up the sport that we watch. So if I have a kid who wants to take up ice hockey, I'll happily support them. And I know it's a very physical, demanding, and occasionally violent sport. I mean, I've got mates who do boxing, and I support them in doing that. So I am aware of the risks that I've taken playing rugby, and even playing cricket. You can get in the head of the ball and it does hurt. I've chipped some teeth, right? So I've played sport, albeit at an amateur level, but I've had injuries. I stopped playing. I chose to stop playing, and I'm bashed up now. My body's feeling it. I'm nearly 28, and I need to have a shoulder operation. Both my knees operated on, my ankle. I've got problems with my neck, my back. They're only little niggles. They're all small little niggles, but they all add up, and you can feel it. And so this is the problem that ex-professionals have, especially sportsmen. A lot of them do find a career after sport. They might be still involved in the sport, and that's fine. But a large minority don't, and go off the rails, and we don't look after them, and it's not right. So I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to continue with this thread of equality in sport and player welfare, things like that, over the next couple of videos, and then hopefully there's more positive sports news next week, because there's been a lot of negative news this week. And yeah, ta-ta, night night.